So that's all I have to say. I have a really special guest. She's an amazing person. I've worked with her for 17 years. 15 years ago, we founded Lake Ontario Waterkeeper. She's an emerging force on the environmental scene, and she's going to talk to you about how Lake Ontario Waterkeeper does its work. And so I'll turn it over to Krystyn. Tully.
5 years of galas, and I've never had to stand up here before. Thank you all for coming. Like Mark, I grew up near Lake Ontario, but my story is very different from his. I lived in Oshawa. I could see the lake every day as I walked to school, but I never swam in it. I never caught a fish. And I want to take one moment to just think about that. I lived near one of the largest bodies of fresh water in one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. And I thought that the community I lived in was a dirty and a dead place, that it had always been that way, that it would always be that way. And worse than that, I believed that health and prosperity weren't meant for people like me. You can tell a lot about a society just by looking at the state of its waters. You can see how people live, you can see what they do, and you can see what they truly value. We started Waterkeeper in 2001 because we didn't like what the state of our waters said about us. It said that we value the health and the prosperity of some communities more than others. It said that we either lack the imagination or the courage to protect the bodies of water that keep us alive. This year, as Mark said, marks our 15th anniversary, and there are people in the room tonight who were with us when it all started. Nora, Susan, Sam, many of you. At the time, Ontario and Canada had the best water protection laws in the world. And the thing about laws, they were meant to protect everyone. So we started by finding places where the rules weren't being followed, going into those communities and enforcing the laws, and it worked. We set provincial, federal, even Supreme Court environmental law. We investigated last year alone 73 cases in 30 different communities in the Lake Ontario watershed. And there's $2 billion being spent today on cleanups because of work that we did or work that we were involved in. But making sure that everyone's playing by the rules isn't the only thing that we do. And for us, you got to ask yourself, where is the joy in swimmable, drinkable, fishable water if no one is actually swimming, drinking, or fishing? Think about the fact that you may be hearing for the first time, that half of Canadian adults choose where they live because of proximity to nature. And what that means for how we choose to spend our money, how we choose to build our communities. Nature is the key to the development of our country, and it's also the key to protecting and improving public health. In 2011, we created Swim Guide. It's an app. It helps you find beaches. Sounds simple. Find a beach, check the water quality. 7,000 beaches. And if you think about what it's actually doing, though, by getting people down to the water and making sure that it's safe for them when they get there, we're changing the way that people access and enjoy open water. And that changes our culture. It's bringing families together, creating opportunities for people to spend more time together. It's reconnecting families and friends. And it's making sure that funding and money is being spent in waterfront communities and rewarding communities for having swimmable water. Lauren Horner from Fraser Riverkeeper was the first to see the benefits that Swim Guide could have outside of the Great Lakes. She brought Swim Guide to the West Coast. From there, it spread to Edmonton. It's now across Canada and the United States, Mexico, and New Zealand. By helping people find clean beaches, we prevent thousands of waterborne illnesses each year. And that project is funded 100% by people who are in this room tonight. Thank you. Around the time that we launched Swim Guide, the government of Canada gutted every federal environmental law. People who live in Canada, people who say, if you poll them, if you do a survey, that they love water and nature more than any other country in the world, suddenly found themselves living in a country that ranked dead last amongst developed nations for environmental protection. What does that say about us? It says that the urgency of our work is increasing, it's escalating. And we're lucky and blessed because our community, the swim, drink, fish community, rallied. The first thing that happened is Ken and Tasha Irving donated the National Water Center in St. John, New Brunswick. Because of their generosity, Canadians have a home for water leaders. We have a place to remind us that water is at the heart of our culture. Sherry Austin at RBC, who is here tonight, she was the first person outside of our organization that we talked to about this idea, and she was the first person to believe us and to support us. And without her advice and assistance, the National Water Center would not be here today. Yes. And it's a good thing because the Watermark Project was born at the National Water Center. Jennifer Bechwell, Nick DePontier, Ed Rutinsky, we were doing a public event in St. John. We got together and we started talking about what we could do to bring more Canadians back to water. Watermark Project's simple. We send volunteers out into the community. We ask people about their experiences with water. We take that information, we put it in an archive. We publish it online for people to see. And in the process, we're chronicling the way that Canadians use water. We're creating a permanent record to show how the state of our water bodies is changing over time. And we're showing people what water truly means to anybody who lives in this country. The process of doing that, here's the secret, is that it means we get to talk to more people about water. We're starting conversations about water every time we go into the community, and we're listening and we're hearing what people really care about. In time, those stories that we're collecting will become a treasure trove of information for policymakers, for academics, for advocates trying to protect their bodies of water. And it started at the National Water Center, and thanks to Lauren and Karen and Kevin in Edmonton, Joseph and William in the north, it's spreading all across Canada. And we act locally because all water issues are essentially local issues. With the support of Marilyn Bell, the Toronto Island Lake Swim, and our shoreline cleanup partners, we are bringing people back to the Great Lakes. We're on a mission to make the Toronto waterfront sewage-free so that when people get to the water, it is safe for them to use it, to touch it, to dive into it. We're also doing all of this because we're part of a much larger community, and you'll hear it referenced a lot tonight. We call it the Swim, Drink, Fish community. And this community really has one mission: protect access to swimmable, drinkable, fishable water so that every community can prosper. Mark and I aren't trying to do this on our own, and that's why we're celebrating the ambassadors tonight. We want to recognize the people who are actually making this happen. And he's going to come right back up. I just want to leave you with one thought, one last thing. I'm part of the first generation to grow up on the Great Lakes, believing that they had always been and would always be dead water. And I truly do believe that because of the work that we're doing, because of the people in this room, because of this Swim, Drink, Fish community, that I am also going to be part of the last. And I thank you for that.